Everything that Sweet Baby Inc. touches turns to trash, and their latest title, Tales of the Shire, had only just released and it's already looking like it's going to be a major flop. But SBI's been getting a little bit less attention lately because a lot of people have been talking about Collective Shout, though of course they're finding their way back into the news cycle because now a Sweet Baby Inc. former employee has advocated for stealing ideas from books in a GDC presentation. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, yes, everything is a copy of something else, but there is a very clear difference between taking inspiration from something and basically just copy and pasting the parts that you personally like the most. And unfortunately for Sweet Baby Inc., they are usually not a part of projects that people are going to remember in 5 years' time or 10 years' time. They've had 2 successes under their belt, and that's Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which we don't know to what extent they worked on it, but we know Kim Belair had worked on it, and then God of War Ragnarok. Besides that, every other game they've released has been met with major controversy, and nobody's talking about them at this point in time. After a month or 2 of being released, people stop talking about their game, so they're not going to go down in history as some mythical, magical company that for some reason was a part of so many game successes. But now we have to question, are Sweet Baby Inc. employees stealing from books? So Sweet Baby Inc., the narrative consulting firm known for its work on high-profile titles like God of War Ragnarok and South of Midnight, has once again found itself at the center of heated debate. A recently surfaced video analysis from the Gothic Therapy YouTube channel claims that a former SBI employee openly admitted to stealing ideas from books during a public presentation at the Game Developers Conference. Now, again, I understand that there are always going to be things that are going to be inspired by other movies or TV shows or video games or books and mythology. But there comes a point where you are using the word theft very intentionally, and, well, they definitely are stealing. So this revelation, presented as evidence of unethical practices, has sparked discussions about creativity, inspiration, and intellectual property in gaming. The find was originally highlighted by the YouTube channel Gothic Therapy, hosted by Master of the TDS and Writing Raven, who dissected the talk in their video titled Sweet Baby Theft. Ex-SBI member admits they steal ideas from books. Now, with a topic like this, I know there are going to be a lot of people with a lot of different opinions, so I can only tell you what my stance is, and in my opinion, there is a very big difference between taking inspiration from somebody's story structure, such as Joseph Campbell's A Hero's Journey, and using that maybe to your own advantage, versus taking somebody's character or storyline and straight up copy and pasting it into your own product, except for changing maybe like a location name or a character name and maybe a physical trait about them. There is a very clear difference, and in this case, they are using words like stealing and theft, and it seems very intentional. And all I know is if I was a creator who was looking to work with a company like Sweet Baby Inc., I would feel very uncomfortable giving them my characters and my storylines and my work, that's for sure. The core of the controversy lies in this person's discussion of stealing ideas inspired by Austin Kleon's book Steal Like an Artist. So I got this idea for this talk from the book Steal Like an Artist by this individual. It's about how to pull from multiple mediums to create something that is truly your own. But the problem is the way that this is presented isn't as if you are sitting here and you are truly taking inspiration from something. If you are simply reading, I don't know, The Realm of the Elderlings, and you decide you want to create a weird character like the Fool, or you are reading A Song of Ice and Fire and you want to create a weird character like Patchface and you just slightly change the wording and maybe the way they look, that is not truly taking inspiration. I know a lot of people's definitions are going to be different here, but we are talking about individuals at a company that has never truly done anything fully unique. All they do is take another person's creation and alter it so that it ends up being politically correct. They help take other people's creations, like the Arkhamverse, and then they twist it around and they change it so that it pushes a modern day narratives and terminology, and it represents a modern world and a potentially modern audience, and then it doesn't end up selling because these people don't have a single creative bone in their body. If this was somebody that had actually had a history of creative endeavors under their belt, maybe I'd be saying, well, they've proven that they are not actually just stealing or denigrating other people's work. They are truly taking full-blown inspiration and they are creating something that's their own, but they haven't ever done that. So it's hard to sit here and give them the benefit of the doubt. And I know that a lot of people are going to feel the same exact way. There are more ideas out there to explore than just looking at what your peers are doing, she said. Trope mashups are perspectives you didn't even know you needed or wanted. I'm not saying you haven't read books or been inspired by them. I'm just saying we should steal more. What did you tell us? I didn't learn anything. Now, it says the Gothic Therapy video frames this argument as a shocking confession of intellectual theft, aligning with broader criticisms of SBI's approach to game development. The hosts argue that advocating for stealing reflects a lack of creativity, especially from a company involved in high-profile games accused of uninspired narratives. Master of the TDS points to the Sweet Babying track record, suggesting that the fact that you could steal from books and still not make good games says a lot about you guys. Of course, though, Sweet Baby Inc. has been a lightning rod for controversy, and the reason why, of course, we're still talking about them is because they are still affiliated with certain projects. Look at Tales of the Shire, right? Their latest game just had came out, and it's already not doing that great. I mean, as of right now, over on Steam, 4,687 players playing 24 hours later. We don't know the Switch numbers, but that's still not very great for a Lord of the Rings game. And it just goes to show that these people, are not able to create anything new or take inspiration in a meaningful way. They're just saying, hey, we should actually continue to steal. The Sweet Babying stealing from books narrative fuels existing perceptions of SBI as lacking originality, with detractors arguing that their reliance on external sources, whether books or ideological frameworks, undermines authentic storytelling. You would think that for a group of this many people, right, who apparently sit here all the time and consume media, would be able to, yes, create decent media. You would think that they would not have so many failures under their belt, but I think it's just because the types of studios that are hiring Sweet Baby Inc. are also studios filled with people who are not very creative. While Amber references Steal Like an Artist, which promotes ethical inspiration through remixing and crediting sources, the hosts reject this as a flimsy excuse, insisting that any form of stealing is inherently lazy. They also criticize the presentation's lack of focus, noting that Amber spends much of the talk recommending books unrelated to gaming, such as love triangles and manga without clear applications. You'd think that you would also want to talk about projects that you have worked on that have been successful, that you might have tried to take inspiration from other mediums and products to create yours. Like if you're trying to create an argument, but at the end of the day, it really just does sound bad for them. And this is why nobody trusts Sweet Baby Inc., because the people that are working at this company don't really care about creating good products. They simply care about stealing from other people's creations. And in a lot of cases, like with the Arkhamverse, stealing other people's creations and then rebooting it and denigrating the characters and throwing characters to the side to make way for new modern versions of themselves or new modern replacements. So yeah, I think that Sweet Baby Inc., of course, is not taken very seriously in the video game industry at this point. And when you have former employees advocating for stealing ideas from books in presentations, it's also not going to look particularly good for you. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.